a kind of a sort of hangover between records. I often feel there's always sort of points that inspire the next one, and definitely that you know there's you know the song Tides, because we'll talk about it later, but it could have easily sort of fitted on that. On Night Thoughts, and there's even a sequence in the Night Thoughts film which is virtually made for that song, sort of thing. So yeah, I think it did, but I kind of wanted to sort of fine tune it a bit. I think with this, that was just a sort of a vague kind of like, you know, some imagery sort of thing. I wanted to sort of fine tune the narrative a bit. It's a tricky one to kind of write a narrative into a record, because you're sort of confronted with a real balancing act. I think you can't be too. You've got to sort of. It's got to have a kind of a figurative narrative thread, but at the same time, you can't be too obvious about it, because then it sort of turns into a concept album. I think you've just got to hint at things. You've got to hint at themes. You've got to hint that there's possibly some sort of like kind of story arc going on. But as soon as it's too kind of like, you know, as soon as you reveal it too much, it becomes. I think it becomes a different kind of record. It becomes a bit crass, sort of thing. So it's just got to be hinted at. So that's what I was trying to do with this. Just hint at this sort of sense that there's a child that's kind of lost somewhere in a kind of alone, and the night's closing in. This sort of thing. You know, that's all you need to know really. And what happens beyond that is kind of like really up to the listener, and it's kind of like it's open to interpretation.
We didn't start thinking we're going to write 3 records that go together. The whole trilogy thing is more about this being a full stop, I think, rather than kind of like them all being the same record. It's more like, I think we felt with this one that we'd taken certain things that are in the last two to their logical extreme. You know what I mean? I don't think we'll do a record that's bigger and more extreme than this next time. So it feels like the end of a kind of patch of Suede life. That was the feeling I had, that you know, the thing with Night Thoughts is it just, because of the reaction to it, it gave us the opportunity to be quite expansive and quite obscure, I think, with this one. But at the same time, I think we've taken it as far as we'd want to, really, that kind of big, obscure, tangled, complicated thing.
Yeah, I don't think we can really go any further with it before, unless it sort of drifts out to sort of something kind of a bit too nebulous, sort of thing. So I think in a way, I always liked the idea of a trilogy of records, and to be honest, I sort of did think about a trilogy quite a long time ago. Before it wasn't quite as retrospective as Matt thinks. I don't think I did like the idea of a trilogy, but I kind of thought personally that we might make 3 records and then split up again. But I think that what we're doing now is so exciting that that's not even an option. I'm so excited about making another record that it's sort of, you know. But you kind of like, you can't think too far ahead with these things, you know. You just have these vague sort of plans, but you can only think one record at a time, I think, really. And
if that.
Yeah, and I like you know, conceptually the idea of records kind of forming little families is quite nice. And I think there was a real kind of evolution between the records, even though Night Thoughts and Blue Hour are much more closely related. I think Bloodsport's definitely kind of like fed into Night Thoughts. I wanted to write a song from a child's point of view, or there's a few songs from a children's point of view, but this is a sort of specific narrative of a kid discovering that his father is having an affair, and it's from their point of view, kind of thing, a kind of like a song from their point of view.